So I asked Grok 3 AI to give all the different views about Holy Spirit baptism, since most people think it's very important and intrinsic to their understanding of salvation. The Pentecostal and/or charismatic view is that Holy Spirit baptism is a distinct post-conversion experience that empowers believers for witness and imparts spiritual gifts, often evidenced by speaking in tongues. Don't ask me why the open theism view keeps coming up, but second option, Holy Spirit baptism is the dynamic work of the Spirit in uniting believers to Christ, often at conversion, with flexibility in God's interaction with human responses not strictly tied to baptism. The Arminian or Wesleyan view, Holy Spirit baptism is either the initial indwelling at conversion or a subsequent experience of sanctification and empowerment, depending on the strand. The Reformed or cessationist view, Holy Spirit baptism is the act by which believers are united with Christ and incorporated into the church at conversion, often linked to regeneration and baptism with no ongoing miraculous signs. New Covenant theology says Holy Spirit baptism is the work of the Spirit under the New Covenant, uniting believers to Christ at conversion, often linked to baptism, fulfilling the promise of regeneration and indwelling. The Lutheran view is Holy Spirit baptism is the regenerative work of the Spirit, typically conferred through water baptism as a means of grace, uniting believers with Christ and granting forgiveness and faith. The Anabaptist view, Holy Spirit baptism is the regenerative and indwelling work of the Spirit, typically received at believers' baptism, uniting believers to Christ and the church. Then, of course, the Restoration movement. Holy Spirit baptism is a miraculous, non-normative event in the apostolic era, just like in Acts 10, to validate Gentile inclusion, with the normative gift of the Spirit received at believers' baptism for salvation and indwelling. You all know which view I take. It's the last one. Baptism of the Holy Spirit is called the promise of my Father in Acts chapter 1, verses 4 and 5. In Luke 24:49, the promise of my Father is connected with the apostles being promised that they would be endued with power from on high, endued with miraculous gifts directly from heaven. The apostles received the baptism of the Holy Spirit, and they were able to speak in tongues in Acts chapter 2, verse 4. The same is true of the household of Cornelius in Acts 10. They were endued with power from on high. Therefore, from this evidence, I conclude that Holy Spirit baptism is a miraculous, non-normative event in the apostolic era, with the normative gift of the Spirit, the indwelling of the Spirit, received upon a believer's water baptism